Welcome to Transform Your Talk. This is Jenna.
Hi, this is Jeff.
Jeff, what are we talking about today?
We're talking about homelessness part two, Jenna. Last year, you and I were outside our office building here in North Lansing, and we witnessed the removal of an homeless encampment with bulldozers and dump trucks and lots of people and machines and equipment. And they took down a camp that was here a couple blocks away from us on the river and under the bridge.
Correct. Yeah.
And the question I have, many have when that happens is, well, they're gone, good, but where do they go?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, this is a systemic issue. Just because they're gone doesn't mean they're actually
They're
gone. They've
not gone.
probably been moved somewhere else.
Where did they go?
Where did they go? Well, we found out yesterday.
Yes, we did.
We found out that in Lansing, on one of the properties a couple of minutes away from here, 5 or 6 minutes away, there was it was called a community. 35 residents and additional visitors and guests, I guess, that come that created, when they were moved and displaced, a new place of their own.
And it was spread out in the woods, again near the river. I don't know, 3 to 5 acres, perhaps.
It was a large area. Some property, I guess part of the property was owned by the restaurant that kind of sits in front of that land. And then the other part of the property was owned by another landowner who owned a warehouse in the area as well. So it was kind of split.
Yeah, and this was their backwoods.
Yes.
Really was a an environment where could think you were at a state park almost until you start looking around. But they have vehicles back there and had dragged trailers, uh, functional and dysfunctional. They had built lean-tos. They had old doors from I don't know where, kind of a mishmash of construction materials sloshed together in little individual pods that were spread out in the woods.
Yeah, there were some tents. We saw that. There were pallets that were used for things. Really, it was a creating a shelter. There were different types of shelters and
Yeah,
forms of shelters out there. With that comes the problematic pieces, I think, that caused us to sort of be out there and for law enforcement and the courts to get involved in.
right. Well, they had generators and gas, propane, and fire pits, and everything you would expect to have at a camp, except potable water uh, and nowhere to go to the potty.
Yeah, there were
Uh,
no bathroom situations. There was not safe drinking water, from what I could tell. And the other issue that I can see the city having is there was an apartment complex that kind of butts up against that property. So within a few feet and a small row of trees separating the two, fire mounds, propane tanks, gas heaters, things like that that pose some dangers and safety problems.
right.
I did see fire extinguishers, so safety was in their minds. I saw multiple fire extinguishers.
Well, I think people immediately think homeless and they're either mentally ill, maybe they're down on their luck. I was talking to a fellow named Shane who probably was responsible for taking a lot of the equipment out with his truck and lived there along with his girlfriend until recently. Um, Not crime. We saw a community being built. We saw elders in the community, spokespersons, connectors. And really, it was all about the sanitation, in my opinion.
I think the sanitation and safety concerns, having fires that close to other residences in woods and dry wooded areas pose some dangers,
Yeah.
dangers that are posed in any campground. Um, Reasonably, you could say there should probably be a burn ban in some of these areas when you have trees that close to homes
Right.
where other people are residing. So I get the safety issues and the sanitary issues for sure.
And we were out there because of the case that's pending in the Ingham County Circuit Court assigned to Judge Rosemarie Aquilina. And she had made a ruling earlier, a few weeks ago, where after a hearing, she ordered the landowners that you just spoke about to provide porta potties and potable water and some sanitation conditions for the camp in general while they sorted out sort of who's going to prevail in this lawsuit about trespass and all this stuff, nuisance. And she was there, walking around with us, invited us to be there. Uh, very determined, I would call her. While she didn't speak a lot because this was an off-the-record sort of inspection, she asked questions. And at one point, where you will see pictures on the YouTube channel of the American flag, do you remember what she was asking about?
I remember overhearing her ask, "Does anyone serve here?" or "Did anyone serve here?"
A
And
veteran,
a veteran. She herself is a veteran.
right?
And I think, the long gazes, not only she had, but many of us had seeing that American flag, a huge one, tied in the trees.
Right.
I think it was enough that, it invoked everything inside of her. And I need to say, I'm very proud of our friend,
Yes.
Rosemary Aquilina, and her integrity and conviction to go out there and greet, the people she saw. "Hi, how are you today?" They weren't treated as second-rate citizens.
Well, she knocked on some doors
She did.
I would have been a little
Knocked on
fearful
makeshift
about.
doors. She opened them. She looked inside.
And she talked to the folks in there,
She did.
and she seemed genuinely concerned. I mean, this is a lawsuit, so she's doing her legal work, and but she's involved, and she's, dragging agencies out there and getting people involved to try to solve the problem.
And I give her a lot of credit because it is a huge problem. This is a problem in the United States that I understand that's been going on probably, what, 20 or 30 years, well before my
Yeah,
time.
long time.
But, systemically, this has gotten worse. Many cities are experiencing this on the same scale, if not larger and larger and larger. So I don't know what the answer is, but I thought in her recent ruling, I guess it was yesterday, it was determined that she's ordered porter potties to be brought out there because, by the way, the community tried. They reached out, and their advocates reached out, and the companies, I guess at B, declined to bring them out there, said, "No, we won't do it." And they said, "We have the money to pay you for it and everything." And they wouldn't do it. So she's ordered that to be done. And it sounds like the spirit of her order is that she needs this figured out before winter. So she's invoking as many agencies as she can and as much help as she can give to these individuals to help them find, unfortunately, they have to move again, another place that is safe and warm for our Michigan winters.
Yeah, she's trying to connect all those folks up with the right agencies so they can find suitable housing. Because in the end, at the end of the day, they're going to bulldoze this camp. There's no way to fix it. It is full of trash and accumulation of property. I think if I'm just guessing that if you're homeless and you find something, you look at that something and you say, hey, do I need this? Could somebody else use it? Maybe someday. And so what you have out there is society's trash.
Sadly, yeah. I mean, I know other countries in Europe, other places, they have tried like tiny house communities where it's sort of a public works sort of thing where you get to maintain your spot here, your tiny home,
Right.
food, water, shelter, all of those things. In return, you're doing public works type, projects, work around the community, cleaning up garbage, washing, benches at the park, whatever it is that the community needs done. So I've seen some of those be fairly successful. On the other hand, I've seen, being out in California, for example, they have a large homelessness issue there. And I've seen communities take the stance of, well, we just, power wash the streets every day. And every person and everything that's on them is either moved or power washed away. But guess what? They're not gone. They're going to come right back.
Yeah, that's not a solution.
So I see different people trying different things, but just like everything, money is what it comes down to, I think.
Absolutely. And this case is evident of that because while she initially ordered the landowners, it's kind of a weird situation because one of the landowners sort of acquiesced and said, hey, I guess they can stay there until they find housing. And the other one called the police. So the city ended up suing them both. And I'm sure they've looked favorably upon the fellow who called the police. And I think the judge figured out pretty quickly that even if you have private money paying for all this, which I'm sure that was reluctant, it's not going to work. So she ordered the city to do it. and maybe they have more clout and power and certainly deeper pockets. Uh, I know they're building housing, shelter, and otherwise here. It's ongoing, but this problem is not going to go away. And it was so evident in the sights and smells. And we were there 2 days ago at noonish. You and I talked about this. We didn't see any children, but there is evidence.
I saw, teddy bears, tricycles. They had a whole mound of bicycles actually, and there were still smaller kid bikes. And I don't know if that's
And
kids
there were
that come
toys.
visit, and there were toys, things like that. Um,
I never ask.
I wouldn't dare ask. Maybe those children were in school. I hope that maybe there are children that come visit family members there. I don't
I don't
know.
know.
But I know when I saw that flag hanging there, our American flag, I got very upset and sad on the inside because I don't remember, I was born in the 80s, so it was a different time and I get it. But I don't remember ever thinking as a child that in America, in the United States, where I live, this great, great country, that that's the situation we would as a nation be okay with people living in. That that just I was like, wow, this is a different type of America.
Well, sad situation that we're in America, a divided country on many or all levels, and no one in agreement on what to do, but the government pulling back from providing a safety net for the homeless and the unemployed and the health needs and the mentally ill, and every aspect of society. We see them, you know, saying, "You're on your own." And they don't see the impact
Yeah.
this has on the community as a whole and how the economics of it don't make sense.
Well, that's the part. I think some of these public works programs have it right where, you're provided food and shelter and medical care and mental health care, all of those things. And you're able to give back to the community, and support the community and
Right.
have a place in the community and have pride in the community. You know, what I didn't see in this community that they've created, I didn't hear people laughing. I didn't hear people happy or gleeful or joyful. That hurt my heart
Hmm.
because I thought, there's sovereign nations and there's, we are lucky enough. We've been out to tribal nations. We've seen all these sort of off the beaten path living situations, but people there laugh and are happy and can find joy in their lives and feel fulfilled. I didn't see that part there.
Well, no, we didn't. They're in survival mode. They're doing their best. We met and talked to a lot of nice folks. Honestly, if we saw them on the downtown, walking the streets, going to lunch, maybe with different clothing, we would not know that there was any issue there or any challenge at all. These are normal people who, because of their addiction or hard luck or no money or this or that, find themselves in a situation where they have no house and they have no place to live.
And we saw a great advocate in our judge friend, Rosemary Aquilina. She treated every person she saw with dignity and respect.
Yes, you did.
She follows the same rule I impose on anyone in my conflict, resolution spaces. We treat every person with dignity and respect. And I just, I'm saddened to think all of these human beings, because they are human beings, our community members, our neighbors, our friends, our friends' kids, all of these individuals, that's what they deserve to be treated with. And I did not see a city treating them with dignity and respect.
Perhaps not. That's a judgment.
It is. It's my
Uh,
judgment. It,
it's
it
your
was it was
judgment.
what I noticed.
Uh, you and I are not used to walking around in those situations and conditions.
No.
So it's a bit of a shock to the system. Um, and I immediately feel empathy for that. I guess we all bear some responsibility for our neighbors, is the message here. And maybe that's the underlying situation here in America that we find ourselves politically. Instead of it's us and them all the time, it should be us, and us, not them.
And not to be biblical, but isn't there a whole section that discusses how we should love thy neighbor, care for thy neighbor?
Yeah.
I didn't see that happening. Of
No.
course, I went into my brain started reeling, going problem solving mode. What can we do? How can we get safe food to these individuals? And I thought, oh, where isn't one of the, why don't we have one of those built wooden pantries here where people can bring canned foods and fresh bread and eggs and things like that? But again, without the potable water and the safe conditions that are needed, I don't know that things
No.
like that would matter much. They're small
No.
little band-aids.
You're talking about providing food, but when you walk around there, I got the idea that there's hepatitis and bad stuff floating around in those woods. Even through that, though, right next to the American flag is a garden, a
Yeah.
flourishing garden they had built.
Yeah.
So they're making things work, sort of.
I give them all, my fellow human beings and community members, a lot of credit. They are doing what our Native American brothers and sisters did. They are trying to create a safe, healthy place to live,
Hmm.
growing food.
Yeah.
Yep, we have to have fire at night sometimes to warm ourselves, but to cook on, things like that. So I think they were doing the best with what they had. And
Yeah.
if that land had been clear cut, like a camp and all of those things, maybe it would have been different. But those conditions aren't right for what they need.
Well, I would have taken a trash dumpster in there, and that could be improved easily. But we all have ideas. The point is, next time you drive by a homeless person, know that somewhere in some doorway or some street corner, some deserted lot, or in this case, the woods, there are people living, and they're living marginally. They're doing the best they can do, and for the most part, not harming nor bothering anyone else.
I didn't get a sense of that at all. I didn't feel inherently unsafe in any way. Similar to when I would ride my bike, we've both used the bike paths a lot and ridden our bikes. A lot of these encampments used to, not a lot, a few, existed under some of the bridges
Right.
that you actually ride underneath, through, in between. And while there were camps on both sides and fire barrels and all of those things, as a cyclist, I never got approached, never felt unsafe. So I don't think anyone wants to harm anybody else or anything like that. I think you're exactly right, Jeff. They want to live and survive and find a way to thrive in their conditions.
Well, it takes a lot of energy to get through a day like that. And I saw a lot of work going on
Mm-hmm.
at that camp, things coming and going, and maybe equipment coming and going. There was commerce there.
Well, and there was ministry there.
Ministry.
There's
Yep.
advocates there that are figuring out mental health things that they can do. There was someone there helping remove trash and bring things in that people needed. So they were creating their nation, their space, their spot, and doing it under the American flag to boot.
And I think as Americans, we could not only remember there are other folks in need when we drive by them all day and night. We could volunteer. We could be out there helping. I mean, they do need help, and I got the feeling they welcome it. Um, there's a lot of needs.
Well, my challenge now for myself is to find out what happens with these. Recently, our city purchased from another city a bunch of those pods, like single room pods for
Right.
people to live in. I would like to follow where they end up, where they set up, and see maybe if I can help spearhead some sort of effort to put together a built pantry, at least to bring canned goods and things to, and at least find a way to say, hey, you know what? If there's children here, young adult, whoever, we all deserve food and warmth and shelter and all of those things. At least in the America I grew up in, that's what I thought. That hasn't changed for me. So with that, that's my little piece I'm going to try to do. See if it helps. And for our listeners, if you turn to our YouTube channel, Transform Your Talk, it's called the same thing. You will see our video footage from our time there, our photographs from our time there. And I hope if any of you have any ideas or notions or ways we can help, that you'll do your part too. Jeff, I'm sure you'll end up doing your part as well.
Well, I made some friends out there, so maybe I'll follow up here in a few weeks and drive over there and see how things are going.
Yeah, maybe we could take them some burgers and fries and have a
Yeah,
picnic. That'd
yeah,
be fun.
yeah. Okay. Well, it was an awakening day for us, a reminder, and a reminder to all of us that we're not alone. We do have a community, and let's pay attention to it.
Absolutely.
So, till next time,
This is Jenna.
this is Jeff.
Oh, heaven, heaven. What the hell is heaven? Is there a home for the homeless? Is there hope for the hopeless? Throw away.